You want to know how Google and Amazon and Apple, and you just pick out your big global company that just seems way too big, way too wealthy to fall. You want to know how it happens? Watch this.
My life getting laid off at Google. So I woke up to this really ominous text from my boss, and I honestly had no idea what it was going to be about. So I called her the minute I woke up and saw this, and she told me to check the news and my email. So I rushed downstairs to find out that I had lost access to basically everything. I couldn't log into my email or even check my calendar. I called my boss back, and we just sobbed over the phone because she was also finding out about my layoff for the first time today too. I started getting calls from a bunch of my coworkers and started finding out who else was let go on my team and some neighboring teams as well. But I think the worst part is that it seems like no one was consulted on this decision and everyone was just finding out about the layoffs at the same time. It just felt like a really bad game of Russian roulette, and there was no consistency around who was let go. It was also not performance-based, so it just felt really random. I opened up LinkedIn, which honestly was not great for my mental health. There were so many people who were in the same boat that were both equally as shocked and blindsided, but it did help me feel a little less alone. Honestly, I spent so much of the day crying that I just felt so tired from being sad and wanted to do something that would just make me feel better. Luckily, I have an annual pass, so I headed over to Disneyland because I wanted to go eat my feelings.
So let's get this straight. News headline hits. A worker from Google reaches out to her leader. Leader says, well, let's go figure it out. Leader, direct report. A leader with a direct report is finding out at the same time that that direct report has been laid off. This is Google, one of the smartest companies in the world. It's embarrassing. You want to talk about dumb? You want to talk about doing something that hurts your brand? It's this kind of stuff. Folks, this ripples and ripples and ripples and ripples until it becomes just like waves coming in. You know, this young lady, and I feel so horrible for her. Imagine waking up, seeing something in a headline, running downstairs to try to get some information you've not heard from your leader. Your leader doesn't even know you've been laid off, and you find out together because she can't access her computer. That is make your stomach turn stuff. Why? It appears as though it wasn't even merit related or weakness related. It was just, we're cutting, here's where we're cutting. And it was a cost savings. It's about the stock price. Make no mistake about that. And there's no communication, no dignity at all. What are you scared? Why do you got to shut somebody out? I understand securities and all this kind of stuff, but you could at least communicate with that person. Right? But no. We're going to lock people out before they even find out that they've been let go. And here's another thing that I just started thinking through when I watched that video. Because she's one of many that this happened to. What about her knowledge? What about projects that she was working on? She's locked out. You've locked her out. So you've effectively cut off all opportunity for real communication, for transferring any knowledge. It's just like, you know what? We'll figure it out. Cut. Let's just do it. Why the hurry? I don't think this was a last minute decision. You've been thinking about it. You've been looking at the numbers. So you've been stewing on this for weeks, but we're going to shut somebody out at 4 a.m. in the morning. And Google is so big that they really, truly don't care. They really do not care. You can't say you care and do stuff like this because you don't care. You don't care about how people feel because you don't care about your people. They are units of production. That's the fact. Anything you say afterwards or don't say or try to spin is total garbage. Here's a Business Insider article to add to this video we saw on TikTok. One software engineer described the way he found out Google was laying him off. And the way he found out was his last day, he got an email. You ready for this? He'd been there 20 years. 20 years at Google gets you an email. Not a leader coming in and sitting down with you, looking you in the eye, telling you how much we appreciate your service, but we're in a really tough situation and we've got to make some really tough decisions. And this is really awful and it's horrible, but we're going to do this, this, and this. I'm here for you. A glowing resume letter, a reference letter, whatever. None of that. Just here's an email. You're gone. 20 years. By the way, in case you have not heard, Google laid off about 12,000 employees, or 6% of its workforce. This is a big layoff last week. Now, ex-Googlers are going on LinkedIn and Twitter, and you saw that in the video. She kind of gave you a screenshot of what she saw. Here are more stories. By the way, this one gentleman, Jeremy Jocelyn, the engineer, he said, this is the final comment I wanted to read from him. He said, "It's as if I dropped off the grid and they have to piece everything together that I took with me." So again, this is bad business. You got an engineer that's been there 20 years and you just shut him off. You send him an email, you cut him off. Computer, now they can't get in the building. And you're just going to try to figure out, well, what did he take with him? How stupid is that? You know why Google is making these decisions this way and executing on this? Because it's about a checklist, not compassion. So when you are making decisions as if I got to lay this many people off, it's 6% of our workforce, it's 12,000. It's a checklist. Do this, 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 and this. And they just execute. They don't even think about the people because, again, they don't care. They're Google. Everybody wants to work for us. We're going to have a fresh crop of youngins coming out of college next year that want to work for us. Until these kind of barbaric, and I mean barbaric behaviors become common knowledge. You think Gen Zers are going to want to work for you, Google? They're not. They don't care. Google means nothing to them. Dan Russell, a research scientist, said on LinkedIn, "I found out when I went to work at 4 a.m. to finish up an important analysis and my badge didn't work. 17 years at Google was kind of a tough way to discover I'd become an ex-Googler." This dude is going in at 4 a.m. You want to talk about above and beyond. Goes in at 4 a.m. to finish a project, and he can't get in the building because he's been laid off and he knew nothing about it. Elizabeth Hart, senior marketing manager on Google's global ads team, worked since 2007, said she found out she'd been laid off when she checked her phone on Friday morning, was half asleep, and saw a notification saying her corporate access had expired, alongside one for a New York Times article about the layoffs. This is abusive. It is barbaric. It is inhumane. I could go on and on and on. Why? Because many of these big-time companies treat you like you are a unit of production. So beware about that big-time brand that you want to work for so much. Turns out they don't care about you. They'll drop you without any courtesy or compassion.